Good afternoon or good morning whenever you're watching this, and welcome to this week's content. So we're moving through. We've talked about hotels, we've talked about restaurants, both the business side of it and then the operating side of it in the last few weeks. And now we're turning to maybe one of the areas of hospitality that you might not have realized as part of hospitality, which is managed services. Managed services are where companies, either public or private facilities and institutions, as well as organizations like school campuses, healthcare organizations, decide how they're going to operate some of their ancillary business, the business they don't do for a living, such as food service. So in a hospital, for example, their main source of business is not feeding people, but rather caring for people and providing health care. However, they do need food service as part of that. And a company would have organization or an institution would have a couple of options of either learning how to deliver that service, hiring their own staff and delivering it themselves, or hiring a company that they contract to come and do that. And so what you'll see in this week's information when you read the chapter in the book is really all about those considerations. There's several things that make managed services a really great career path. And then there's some other things that maybe might be considered as drawbacks. So for example, if you are kind of thinking in between two different industries, do I want to do hospitality and food service? Do I want to go into healthcare? Maybe managed services might be a way for you to blend two of those passions and deliver food service in a healthcare environment. The second part or consideration is that you really have a captive audience. If you are going to work in a managed services environment and you're working for a company that wins a contract for a school, you pretty much know for the next year what the admissions levels are, so what the volume is that's going to be needed. So it's a little bit more set than say a freestanding restaurant. The other area is really business and industry. So if you think about Facebook or Google or Microsoft, or any of these companies, high-rise buildings in downtown San Francisco that offer food services to their employees. And what did COVID do to that? Were offices closed, so the food service contracts were canceled. So on the flip side, when business comes back, really those places don't operate typically on the weekends or evenings. So you might have a more desirable work schedule. So definitely a lot of pros and cons with it. I've talked mostly about food service, but it can be in other areas as well. Could be housekeeping, custodial, environmental services, maintenance and engineering. One of the areas that's very fascinating is, for example, Yosemite and some of the national parks. And I once had a student who was very much interested in being a park ranger, and that really falls into this managed services category. So if you think about hospitality, so far you haven't found your path in the other areas that we've talked about. Maybe you like a little bit less corporate environment, you want a little bit more outdoorsy, you want to blend a hobby or a passion with your job, the managed services might be for you. I'll tell you, I'm a sports fan, so Major League Baseball has just ended their lockout, and I think about all of the workers that are going to be able to work now in the stadiums, right? And that's not people that work for the San Francisco Giants, for example. They work for a company, I'm pretty sure it's Centerplate, although I haven't seen if they've changed contracts. So kind of interesting and fascinating way to look at our hospitality business. So I do hope that you enjoy this week's content on managed services. Thanks and have a great week.